To transition to mathematically perfected economy, and to right as much as possible the wrongs inflicted by this inherently terminal, imposed system of exploitation, we credit all interest payments made up to now instead to principal, vastly paying down all sums of debt. And we refinance this little remaining debt without interest into a minimum schedule of payment equivalent to depreciation. Only so do we have true economy, free enterprise, and free markets, from which we can pay for property no more than we consume of it, with no more than equal measures of our own production. To provide a visual model of why and how mathematically perfected economy is the one and one only solution for the categoric faults of usury, let's review the properties and inherent life cycles of the two systems, that we can understand the obvious purposes of they who attempt to extend the imposition of these systems upon us. To represent the inherent pattern of inherent monetary failure under usury, we begin from year 23 of our previous model of progressive reductions of interest rates. Noting the marginalization of industry and lack of liquid circulation, which are inevitable consequences of 89% of the circulation inherently becoming devoted to servicing the perpetual artificial multiplication of indebtedness, which is the vehicle of our exploitation. All that we see in this demonstration, then, is imposed by a mere glorified printing house, publishing our own promises to pay and peddling them to us at such inconceivable, destructive costs. If we were simply to start an implementation of mathematically perfected economy afresh, debt would be no more than the circulation. But in converting a state of usury to a rectified state in mathematically perfected economy, all the red portion of the debt bar of usury, bar 2, represents the interest which has been paid and which artificially multiplied the sum of debt as we were obligated to reborrow periodic interest to maintain a vital circulation. Observing eventual needs to rectify the circulation, we may not be able to credit debtors more so than pays off their debts. But as we see, counting all this red portion of bar 2 toward principal then, amounts to paying off the artificial sum of debt. So the lack of a debt bar 4, or debt value in the initial state of rectification, represents the state we would begin in if we rectify the crimes against us of the present imposed system. Rather than to represent this state of rectification with its obvious complete lack of costs under mathematically perfected economy, we will illustrate an ongoing state of mathematically perfected economy, not only as if we are servicing a debt equal to the circulation, but even as if we are renewing all things as they depreciate, which maintains the circulation and represents the actual ongoing costs of a fact of sustaining production and infrastructures forever. Remember then, as you watch and take all this in, that we are prejudicing the comparison toward mathematically perfected economy to its greatest possible disadvantage. The extra burdens we are placing on our depiction of mathematically perfected economy not only are not represented on the usury side, but as we see in the pattern of our model and all the facts around us, usury ultimately even makes these essential facets of maintaining a standard of existence impossible. Note the incredible disparities in cost or stress, nonetheless, in the circulations of each system. As we see, the costs of servicing debt under the imposed central banking system is 89% of the circulation, 89.80 units, or practically 90 times what it is under mathematically perfected economy, where the costs of servicing the sum of debt, including renewed debt to maintain wealth and infrastructures, is only 1 unit. There is no liquid circulation under usury, and we can only sustain 29.14% of our intended 35 units of industry. Under mathematically perfected economy, we not only sustain the 35 units of industry with ease, we saddle it with only 1 unit of cost of production, while USURY saddles it with 89.8. Thus, while USURY leaves no liquid circulation whatever, 64% of the circulation is free for other purposes under mathematically perfected economy.